Do you at Chatham House, with all your study and also your study of think tanks and sort of the zeitgeist of Washington, do you see a shift in Washington of any party or any person towards a system as we see in Europe of direct aid to labor unemployed? I mean, has there been any kind of a philosophical shift?
You know, I think there is a clear understanding that government needs to play a very specific role in this context where we have, unemployment at least 11.1%, and no end in sight when it comes to controlling the virus and therefore controlling the economic impact. I think that people understand this. And again, if you put this in the context of the demand for equality, the question, Tom, is what happens in November, because of, taking that question seriously, whether it's Congress or the president, those two branches of government, the executive and legislative, have to come together to do that. And that's not going to happen, certainly not in the run-up to November in a serious way. But I think there is a lot of rethinking, and obviously, the question of health care and health care provision is one that is top of people's minds in the United States.
Leslie, if you look at the polls, President Trump is certainly not doing as well as he would hope to be doing at this point. He's being judged on his handling of coronavirus. Today also there's a letter from the U.S. saying we no longer want to be part of the WHO, and that takes a year to actually happen. If he puts the blame of the pandemic on China, does that play okay with voters, or is he still just going to be judged on the number of infections and deaths?
I think at the end of the day, people are looking at their life. Can they go to work? Can they pay their bills? Are they worried about being sick? Can their children go back to school safely? China, yeah, sure. People understand what we know of the source of the virus, but this is not what's driving voters at the polls. Trump's numbers are down. They're down in states where you wouldn't expect them to be down. He looks like he's about 2% down in Texas. And unsurprisingly, right, this is linked to what we're seeing in Texas, which is the virus is out of control. The governor there is now telling people to wear masks after really denying the consequence and the gravity of the virus for so long. So, that mixed message, that lack of messaging, that lack of leadership is showing up in the polls. And I don't think that the blame game on China is going to turn that around. What could turn it around is if there's a vaccine, if it's distributed, all of that. That's a lot to ask for by November. But if we see some sort of health response, whether it's therapeutics or even the hope of a virus and a rebound in the economy, perhaps that changes things. But we haven't seen a president that's this far down in July who does well in November. So, right now, the optics for the re-election of President Trump certainly are not good.